Gentleman yields back. The chair recognizes our ranking member of our subcommittee on financial institutions, Dr. Foster of Illinois. You're recognized for 5 minutes.
Yeah, well, thank you. I wear several hats around here, among them one an actual manufacturer in this thing who started a company that manufactures a big part of the theater lighting equipment, and I could talk for a long while about how destructive this administration has been towards U.S. manufacturing. But I'm also a PhD physicist. Okay, in your spare time between destroying federal regulators, you're also pretty far along in destroying the federal science enterprise. Are you familiar with Omar Yaghi?
Am I familiar with what, Congressman?
Omar Yaghi. He's a Palestinian refugee. He grew up in Jordan, came to the United States, won a Nobel Prize, and he's a brilliant, charismatic guy. And he announced a few days ago that he is leaving the United States. And you know where he's going? China, where he will be leading the material science labs at one of their top universities. So my question is this: could you please tell your boss that his current score on Nobel Prizes is -1? Could you tell him that?
No, I'm not going to tell him that because I think it's an inappropriate comment from you.
I think it's a factual comment. Okay, now I was one of the few members who's still on the committee who was around during the global financial crisis, which was the result in large extent of abusive lending practices that caused dramatic failures in financial markets. Lenders made loans that were impossible to repay. They knew it, with hidden fees, exploding adjustable interest rates, little or no evaluation of a borrower's ability to repay. These practices contributed to widespread defaults and debt that resulted in a $700 billion taxpayer-funded bailout of the U.S. economy, which is where you're heading us back down, the path you're heading us back down. So this crisis caused Congress to create, among other things, the CFPB to address exactly the type of predatory lending practices that led to this crisis. The Congress giving it authority over non-bank mortgage lenders, credit cards, student loans, and other consumer lending products. Okay, maybe you think it's all fine now, but do you know how much debt the U.S. households have, how much debt they had prior to the peak of the 2008 financial crisis? Total?
Not off the top of my head, no.
No, it was $12.68 trillion in 2008. Do you know how much debt the U.S. households hold today?
How many?
$18.8 trillion. There's more debt piled up and stress American households than there was before the crisis. And we're unfortunately just as naked against the same sort of abuse that we had as we had back then. American families are facing significant economic challenges, all the while this administration and you specifically are attempting to cut 95% of the staff of the one agency empowered by Congress to protect them from abusive loans and predatory lenders. This is not to mention the mess that you and the president have gotten us into with tariffs and the conflict in Iran, both of which are increasing cost and economic stress on Americans. Your administration has presented no intelligible strategy to end either one of these. And so one of the underappreciated aspects of the pre-2008 economy was the lack of supervision over non-bank financial institutions. Before the crisis, many mortgages were issued by non-bank lenders, and that percentage increased from roughly 40% in 2008 to around 65% today. Pre-2008, no agency had authority to oversee non-bank mortgage lenders. This is the mortgage market that led to the financial crisis. Congress then gave the CFPB authority to oversee non-bank mortgage lenders, an authority that was not previously held by any financial agency. So do you know how many examinations the CFPB carried out on entities under its supervision since you've taken over as director?
We have continued our supervision enforcement activities.
You know
and
the
I would
number.
just say, with regard to the non-banks, many of the legal theories that were used to supervise and enforce on non-banks were extrapolations that were quite novel from anything that you had ever passed. So our issue is not whether we're willing to regulate non-banks. The issue is the extent to which the legal theories and the statutes do not allow, and that need to go through Congress as the extent to which we need to have that debate here in the People's House.
We did have that debate. We passed, I voted for, and we passed the Dodd-Frank Wall Street Reform Bill that gave you authority to deal with non-bank lenders, all right? And when you got the administration, you're heading us down a path that is, I'm afraid, just going to send us right back. Now, you made it abundantly clear you don't much care about ordinary Americans getting ripped off, but maybe you care about rich people. You remember Bernie Madoff? Okay, he scammed many, many very wealthy people, Republican donors that your boss cares about, okay? And when we had hearing after hearing on how did that happen, it was because of underfunded
Gentleman's time
regulators.
has